Hi, happy holiday. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, the Trades Union Congress calls for the establishment of an independent emoluments commission to help ensure a more decent living wage for public sector workers.
We must adopt a living wage, wages that respect our dignity for compensation and not exploitation. A living wage for a living life. We must unify the public sector pay and pension system to remove the inequality.
More from the May Day celebrations, where the president has been promising decent jobs and economic stability. Also coming up, IMF expresses support for government's plan to privatize aspects of the Electricity Company of Ghana's operations. My name is Darryl Powell. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. Chairman of the Trades Union Congress, TUC, Bernard Osu, has called on the government to establish an independent emoluments commission to help ensure a more decent living wage for public sector workers and to place greater focus on pension reforms. He made the remarks during the May Day celebration held in honor of workers.
Wages that respect our dignity for compensation and not exploitation. A living wage for a living life. We must unify the public sector pay and pension system to remove the inequality. The Independent Emolument Commission is the way to go. We must take another look at the pension reforms, and we must completely reform the Labour Act as sooner than later to give more and better protection to workers. Your Excellency, I urge you to usher the country into a social partnership arrangement through which we collectively address the concern of workers and those of employers, including government.
Meanwhile, President John Mahama is promising decent jobs and economic stability. Let's take a listen to what he said at the May Day celebration.
I understood then, as I do now, that the prosperity of Ghana cannot be separated from the well-being of its workers. In February this year, just a few weeks into my administration, I demonstrated this commitment by meeting with the National Tripartite Committee. After thorough consultations, we agreed to increase the national minimum wage by 10%, raising it from 18.15 Ghana cedis to almost 20 cedis, effective from 1st March 2025. I understand and respect your sense of sacrifice on this matter, considering that inflation at the time was hovering at a whopping 23%. I'm fully aware that this 10% increase is not optimal, but the circumstances of our economy dictated that we do so at this particular time. As I told you, this year's budget is a reset budget, and my hope is that with the austere steps we are taking this year, we will be able to see better remuneration in the next couple of years ahead. My comrades and friends, sacrificing to rescue our country from the economic ledge into which it was plunged is not meant for workers alone. You are not the only ones to tighten your belts. Sacrificing is meant for all of us who are servants of the people, including I, the President. And that is why I will lead by example I will be prudent and modest in handling of our public resources, and I expect all my appointees to do the
While away from May Day celebration, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has expressed support for the Ghanaian government's plan to privatize aspects of the Electricity Company of Ghana's operations, particularly its revenue collection. Whilst the government says the move is aimed at improving efficiency, unionized workers have criticized it as a disguised attempt at full-scale privatization. Speaking at a news conference in Washington, D.C., IMF Mission Chief for Ghana, Stefan Hode, said that given the challenges facing the energy sector, bold and decisive measures are necessary. Meanwhile, the IMF is urging the Bank of Ghana to exercise caution regarding plans to seek fresh borrowing on the international market and to reissue long-term bonds locally. Speaking at a news conference, the IMF Mission Chief for Ghana, Stefan Hode, emphasized that Ghana's current program is designed to ensure the necessary funding from development partners until its conclusion in May 2026.
To be frank, I don't think it's an immediate concern. The program has been designed in such a way that together with financing from the IMF, together with financing from the World Bank, and the government being able to finance itself in the domestic markets, this should be sufficient to cover all of the needs that we have talked about, the needs related to financing whatever is falling due in terms of debt, the needs to be able to finance whatever financing needs are there.
Now, former Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Patrick Boama, is calling on the government to prioritize discussions with the United States over the future of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, a key trade pact set to expire in September 2025. The agreement, which has provided tariff relief for Ghanaian exporters for years, faces uncertainty as indications grow that the U.S. may not renew it. Speaking to Joy Business in Washington, D.C., Mr. Boama warned that failure to secure an extension could have dire consequences for Ghanaian exporters.
Companies who purposefully set up to benefit under AGOA. Madam Salma's company, Unity, they are into garment and textiles and what have you, at the UTC, some are the free zones enclave. If we don't push for an extension, it will lead to a lot of job losses and revenue shortfalls for government. So I believe that, one, we must push for an extension of the AGOA and to be able to capitalize on its benefits. Secondly, with the tariff wars going on, you need to also encourage the local business community to increase their export potential by giving them the right or the needed incentives. You see, we cannot sit and be spoon-fed for a long time. We need to win ourselves.
Exploding market here.
Some of these policies, because if the U.S. is giving you an opportunity under the African Growth and Opportunities Act, which has been in place for more than close to 20 years.
President Kufuor's time.
Yes, around 2003, thereabout. Then you need to ask yourself, what have you been able to do in the area of AGOA to expand your export potential, to be able to rake in the FX or the Forex that is supposed to support the growth of your economy. So I believe an extension of AGOA is good, but it shouldn't be in perpetuity, so that we are able to build the kind of local industry that we require. That is why I was a firm believer in the One District, One Factory program, regardless of the challenges and the abuse of some of the entities. Because if we don't take steps as a country to build local capacity in the industry, the expected job creation that we've been talking about will be an illusion. Secondly, local pharmaceutical companies like Aquatic Life Sciences, NS Chemist, Amponsa Ifa, Topinko and Co., they need to be encouraged to be producing within the local market to avoid the importation of some of these drugs onto our market. So there are strategic areas that government ought to look at in terms of textile export, in terms of pharmaceutical, in terms of import substitution, agro-based industry. I'm happy government is talking about agribusiness, but if you look at the budget lines for the Ministry of Trade and Ministry of Agriculture, you ask yourself,
they're insufficient.
They're very insufficient if you want to make a projection into hitting the big market with some of the targeted crops that you need to export to be able to generate the revenue that it requires. It means you have to be putting in a lot of money to support the
but I was also trying to find out whether at the committee level you'll be pushing for these diplomatic channels in terms of the engagement so that we could, because I know the committee level you have engagement with diplomatic partners, and even you are here as well, whether we can be pushing that diplomatic channel to see the possible extension of the AGOA and even, let's say, minimizing the shocks as well.
When I was chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, there was one thing I instituted, that at every bi-week, bi-monthly, twice a month, I invited the ambassadors from some of the countries that Ghana had a lot of trade relations going on: China, the United States, the UK, Italy, and Nigeria, to discuss how we could improve upon our trade relationships with them. By so doing, you are able to profile suggestions or ideas to them, especially in such challenging times. And I will encourage the new chair and assist him into putting in place some of these programs so that it gives them an idea as to the Parliament of Ghana's perspective on our trade relationship with them. You'll be there and they'll report Ghana's trade surplus is this. We had a trade arrangement with China and exceeded $1 billion. How did we get there? Can't we do 10 billion? Can't we do 15 billion if some of these bottlenecks are removed? So these are some of the things that I'll be encouraging the committee to look at. This morning I even read that the U.S. is asking their nationals to be wary of 4 countries they'll be visiting in April, which included Ghana, Morocco, and I think Uganda and another country. Those are things that also impede on growth and trade relations that we ought to look at when some of these issues crop up. So it's a myriad of issues. 1, continuous engagement with them. 2, identifying the bottlenecks within the trade arrangements that we have, because most of the time we have bilateral arrangements with them, but we need to continue and establish strong trading desks or bilateral desks with some of the very important trading hubs globally. And you can't do so without talking about the United States, where we are now. China, very big global power, I respect them so much for what they've done. We need to identify new economies
that we can explore.
Vietnam, what they are doing, and what we can learn from them. Far East, South Korea, and what have you. These are economies that appreciate where you are and could hold hands together and grow.
Well, speak of trade, Ghana and Ukraine are finding new ground for collaboration, this time through culture. At the annual Nazabama Inter-Countries Festival of Cultures in Accra, Ukraine Chargé d'Affaires Ivan Lukashchuk highlighted growing ties between the two nations, especially in agriculture and trade. Perjan has more on how diplomacy and culture are working hand in hand.
The Nazabama Festival is a vibrant celebration of identity and diversity, but this year it also served as a platform for deepening diplomatic and economic ties. Ukraine's chargé d'affaires to Ghana, Ivan Lukashuk, says his country sees Ghana not only as a strategic partner in trade, but as a future hub of agricultural productivity.
You know that Ukraine is a reliable guarantor of food security of the world. And we are ready to supply our agriculture products to African continent, actually to Ghana. We see Ghana like a logistical hub. So we have a lot of opportunities, but we are ready to share our agriculture technologies, our expertise with Ghanaian partners to help Ghana to develop agriculture production here in Ghana.
Beyond trade, Lukashuk emphasized the value of cultural diplomacy. Despite the war in Ukraine, he says the country's commitment to global partnerships remains firm.
Ghana has a lot of products which is interesting for Ukraine. For example, cocoa. This is, as I remember, this is a main part of our trade of import from Ghana, Ukrainian import from Ghana.
Guests at the festival were excited to showcase their cultures, but also to build lasting bonds.
We wanted to bring to you another part of our own tradition from Ukraine. So we are displaying it to you guys with the t-shirts and the mugs.
Example, I am wearing special band on my head. It's like a crown. This is traditional Ukrainian one. It's full of flowers, sunflower and the wheat. This is the part of the Ukrainian culture. It is the symbols of Ukraine.
I think it's a very nice program that shares a lot of different values and invites a lot of people from different countries. I'm from Ukraine, and it's a great honor to represent Ukraine and to share with Ghanaian people, with international guests, Ukrainian culture, food, art and literature, as well as learn about the Ghanaian culture, the music that we can hear, and just the colors, the clothes. So it's a very interesting event, I think.
As global trade war persists, partnerships like this prove that diplomacy can begin not just in boardrooms, but in cultural celebrations that bring people together.
All right, you're watching the Marketplace Holiday Edition. We're taking a short break. We will be right back. And welcome back. Supervising Bank Manager of the Wild Community Cooperative Credit Union, Dr. Abraham Ambowenda-Kura, has called on the government to reduce a 25% surplus tax on traditional banks to no more than 10%, arguing that the current rate is unfair and hinders financial inclusion for the poor and vulnerable. Dr. Dakura made the appeal at the 57th Annual General Meeting of the Wild Community Cooperatives Credit Union. Joining us is Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
2025 Annual General Meeting of the World Community Cooperative Credit Union is to consolidate the gains made in the previous years and to map up new strategies to strengthen the union in subsequent years. The World Community Credit Union, which was established some 60 years ago, has active membership of about 21,000. Board Chairman of the World Cooperative Credit Union, John Kofi Sedu, posited that the union over the past year has embarked on several initiatives, including the introduction of a source code for banking and automated teller machine ATM to be on par with the technological advancement in the banking sector amid the changing needs of its members. He disclosed that the bank made a surplus before tax of about 3.7 million Ghana cedis and assets of over 67 million Ghana cedis in 2024, adding that there's more room for improvement as they are targeting at least 80 million Ghana cedis in assets for the union by the end of 2025.
3 million Ghana, 3.3 plus million Ghana cedis. I think it's good. But I don't want to say that that's the end. We aspire to go more than that. And our assets came to about 67.7. So I think that is good enough. And so as I talk now, we are about 51 million Ghana cedis in asset size. So that's what we have. And so we hope at the end of the year, we should be thinking about 80 or 90 million for the credit union.
Supervisor Manager of World Cooperative Credit Union, Dr. Abraham Ambongwendakura, expressed concern over the high tax imposed on credit unions in the country. He averred that the 25% tax imposed on surplus for traditional banks is unfair, as it hampers the financial inclusion of the poor and the vulnerable in the society.
The tax, the 10 numbers that begin with V, they have meaning. The V means that you are a not-for-profit organization and you ought not to pay tax. But in a few years, the tax people descended on us. I think you can see in our financials that the tax provision for 2024 is 1.1 million Ghana cedis. That's how much money, the people's money, the poor people's money, that we have to give to yearly as tax. But our argument is not totally against tax. Yes, we should contribute something to the development of the country. But why should we pay same rate as the banks when we can render, our hands are tied when it comes to certain products and services that the bank will render, which the law prevents us from rendering? For instance, forex. But some of the credit unions have become big now, and we have the muscle to be able to go into those spaces.
Dr. Abraham Dakura therefore called on the government to consider reducing the tax burden on the credit unions from 25% to about 10%.
You can see the mixture of members, the disabled, the poor, they are all here. And it's their monies that they contribute for us to use to help ourselves. And why should we pay such huge tax of 25% on the surplus that we make? Why can't government make that 5% or 10%? Yes. And for us, that's not fair. It's about fairness. If they want us to pay that, let them open the door for us. Let's also do full-scale business. Then we come headlong. We want to say that we have the capacity to do that.
They also used the opportunity to launch the 60th anniversary celebration of the credit union. Reporting for Dwayne News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
And finally for us this afternoon, excavator operators in the small-scale mining sector have received training on safe and efficient practices for a sustainable industry. Under the training, the operators, mostly from the Ashanti and Western regions, are expected to understand the soil layers and sustainable practices of excavation. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
Excavators are modern equipment in small-scale mining for digging in gold exploration. Due to the limited training of its operators, some of them often work with less accuracy, leading to overdigging. This has contributed to destruction of land and increase in carbon emissions. Country manager for PL International Holdings Gold Coast Limited, Pravin Gali, explains.
People start operating machines from a very early age. Okay, and everybody is having their own different way of operating machines, or they have learned something from somebody which may not be the correct practice also. So it is important for them to know the right practices and to know how they can enhance the performance of the machine, so which in turn helps them in terms of boosting the production.
The technical training for excavator operators was organized by construction machinery makers Kobelco and their partners PL International through Wanabade Ventures. Ernest Dabo speaks for Wanabade Ventures.
So we at Wanabade decided that why don't we collaborate with Kobelco, which is one, their machines are fuel efficient, their machines are very good, of quality, and for that matter, if we are able to promote it and make sure that we teach these operators how to really excavate efficiently and then sustain a better excavations, their owners will be able to rake in more, and in so doing, they will not go to the extent of destroying more natural resources in order to get money.
Mining remains important to the Ghanaian economy, but it has dire consequences on the environment when done irresponsibly. Already, the government has intensified its fight against illegal mining, an attempt to reduce its negative impacts on the environment. President of the concerned Small-Scale Mining Association, Michael Kwadjopepra, explains the need for sector players to join hands in ensuring sustainable mining.
We are all against the destruction of our various forest bodies and our water bodies. So if government need quest to make sure that all the bottlenecks that comes with the licensing is being taken out, I think a lot of people who wants to do the right thing rather fall on the community, the cooperative mining scheme.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
All right, and that's the marketplace this holiday. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Bank of Ghana is not injecting significant amount of dollars to support cedi stability. Dr. Johnson Siama. Also, MTN Ghana records 5.4 billion Ghana cedi revenue in 2025, Q1 representing 39.4% increase. myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.